question about the songs. How did you find the music for the songs of Shakespeare's lyrics, and also the visual design beyond the landscapes?
Well, that's Elliot Goldenthal, right? He's the one who composed he composed all the music and all the songs. There's only a little bit of gamelan at one point in there, but it's all Goldenthal. And we, of course, we've collaborated for 25 years together. He did Titus, he's done all my films, and everything except for the Dead Composers practically, and Spider-Man and Lion King. So we've worked together. He did all the Tempests, all the Shakespeares I've done, and we did talk about this combination of a contemporary sensibility with electric guitars. He uses electric guitars as an orchestra. You know, the whole Tempest does have orchestral elements, traditional orchestral, but a lot of that music is electric guitar. And just like Sandy's costumes, I wanted to bridge time, because Shakespeare is for all time. I don't want to update it. That's the difference. I think that even if you look at the original Shakespeare plays and lithographs or woodblocks, they would be wearing togas with Renaissance or Elizabethan pantaloons. You know, they in those days would be their contemporary with older historical costumes. So Elliot created, he used didgeridoos and pansor, the kind of flutes that were for aerial, the wood sounds, the wind sounds, didgeridoos that have this incredible, the Australian didgeridoos for the Caliban scenes and percussion. And then the songs themselves, he composed them to the lyrics. I mean, he does a lot of songs. So this was something, I can't actually speak for him, but I lend him a free hand to go do his magic, and we collaborate, and he writes these magnificent things. The second thing you asked was? The visuals that were not part of the landscape. Yes, the cell, the architecture. So the visuals that were not part of the landscape. Mark Freeberg and I got together and we talked about the fact that she's been there for 12 years on this island. And something, we didn't want to just do a cave. I mean, you do have the cave part, but we also felt that as she has the power and the magic, there's all of this incredible symbolism it's almost Masonic, alchemical. There's a lot of that in the design in her cell. Her cell itself, the courtyard, is like an open book. Now, you might not see it, that's okay. It can be subliminal, but for us, there's these two walls, and they're white. And then down at the base is a half-moon water, which is very feminine, and it's also their cistern. But that circle within the square and the triangle are parts of alchemical symbols, which would be very much a part of Prosper's studies and her power. So you have the black, the red, and the white. And whether you're in Native American culture or in Hindu culture, these are very powerful symbolic colors. They mean something, and whether they do to the audience or not, it doesn't really matter. It will resonate in a kind of DNA way for human beings. And I wanted that half-moon water, that half circle there, to be where Ariel would come from. And that it has that kind of fertility and the spirit, and so that was the cell. And then the inner part, her bed was made out of the bark that she was put upon, and all of the tools. She could have blown glass. I mean, we had to explain all of these items there, but if she has the power with the volcano and the furnace from the volcano, those tubes, those glass alchemical jars full of her liquids and botany, and over those 12 years, this woman would have done a lot. So we tried to make as much sense out of the things that came, but then there's a certain liberty. It is a play. And in a play, you never see the cell. This is the difference in film. In film, you have to find all the details. In the theater, I just did it on a black sand rake and a white. You never get into that kind of reality. Then with the flashbacks, which I like to Milan, you know, there is a virtue with low budget. And this is fairly low budget for the scale of this film, because it is expensive to go to Hawaii and bring these people. So what we did was we used green screen and photograph. We used photographs, if you could tell in the Milan flashbacks, and made little models using photographs printed on plastic. And what that did with forced perspective was actually give us a more creative, dreamlike flashback. If we had had the money to go and shoot in real locations, I don't think it would have been quite as interesting. So we played with color, with black and white, and used that And we shot through plastic. And we used that kind of where light, you know, Stuart Dryburgh did this, where the light diffuses and it's not sharp and clear. And then in color, in the color play at the end, we made it go into these kind of gray-blue tints, which contrasts tremendously with the warmth of the orange and red cave that's lit by firelight. So that's the only, I think those are the only set pieces that had to be constructed. The part with Ariel in the water is live. There's no CGI in that. That is literally shot under glass, inspired by Brian Oglesby's photographs, and he came and advised us on this. And Ariel, Ben Whishaw, is literally underneath a glass, 8 by 5 foot glass with 2 inches of water, and Helen's on a plank in some of these 2 shots that are live, and it's live sound, and she's hanging over him and the camera's above. But when he's in singing Full Fathom 5 and all of that, that is not a special effect. That's not a visual effect.
In fact, you talk about your conception of Ariel and what it was like. What was the process of coming to the way that he appears?
Well, it was interesting because I cast Ben Whishaw. I love Ben Whishaw. And I felt that he, with Helen, would have this potential chemistry of no, they're not sexuality, but there's a certain wonderful, the older woman with the young man, and this relationship seemed to be like it could be very, very cool, very good between the two of them. Now, the thing that happened was that Ben wasn't available for the shoot in Hawaii. And instead of casting another actor, I just took it as one of those restrictions that can become a plus. And it was a tremendous plus. Because if he had been there, he would have been on the ground. And he would have been 5'9" and on the ground. And all of their shots would be like me to Richard here. What would we do? So the fact that he wasn't there made me have to come up with a concept. And I always wanted him to be able to be transparent. Like some of the, you know, this kind of art, whether it's digital or not, is photography of being able to make the images, the after images, and some of those wonderful early films, and or the horse that you see, how you see the after images, is a beautiful photographic technique, and I knew I wanted to do that. So by not having Ben on location, it freed us up to have him transform. He was air, he was water, he was fire, he was lava dogs, he was frogs, he was harpies. The harpy is not a visual effect either. He is with giant wings on a glass, on a table, in blue screen, the background we had to play with. But I wanted it to be as real as possible. I did not want to make a CGI character because I felt that the power comes through the actor. And we, even in some of those 2 shots where they're in the actual cell itself, they were acting together, and then in post we could make him transparent by how we, this is all the film magic, right? How you have locked off camera and shoot again and shoot the background. So we were able to control the corporal, what do you say, corporeality of his presence. And the one scene where he's not affected is the scene where he says, "I would were a human." Because he has to be there, and that's just the real Ben in the almost Butoh white makeup, which helps to create this non-human androgynous figure. And we did want him to be androgynous, hence he is. And lots of breasts, but he has the duality there of a male-female spirit.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Julie, thank you so much for
Very well.
coming. And thank you as well.